All right, I'm with Tom Larsen, CEO of Eloro, ELO on the TSX, the big board in Canada. Tom, how are you doing?
Hey Robert, how you doing?
Very good. I want to unpack the news you guys put out on September 4th. This was a few weeks ago, but this was a meaty piece of news with a lot of information in it. So let's see if we can dig in here a little bit. So you're restarting the drill program at Santa Barbara to basically work on this starter pit area, this higher grade near surface starter pit at Santa Barbara. Tell us about that. How many core holes are you going to put in there at Santa Barbara? What's the objective of the drill program?
So we are initiating a 5,000 meter sort of a definition drilling campaign, but some step out holes also to the west of that starter pit that you just mentioned, because to the west there's more concentration of tin and silver. At the Santa Barbara area where we, 2, 3 years ago, did a lot of continual channel sampling, 3, 4 meter channel samples along that old Santa Barbara adit, came in with some, high grade zinc, tin, silver. But again, they were channel samples, but continuous along the wall rock. And, we decided like after this whole MRE came out last year, and the knock on the grades, that we really had to focus in on the economic model for the PEA in relation to a subset of the deposit, an optimal subset of the deposit being the upper portion, the starter pit area, basically the top, the cherry, as you might say, on the, of this 600 million ton deposit, 1.15 ounces silver equivalent, $34 billion in situ value, if you wanted to look at it that way. Obviously not all commercial, to say the least. However, that's what you're dealing with. So this MRE did show a roughly 130, 140 million ton pit with sort of a 25, 28 gram silver, zinc lead component. But you had a stripping ratio of 1 to 1, 1,500 meter strike length. So the actual economics, and being in Bolivia, which is one of the lowest from a cost standpoint, you're in the lowest quartile in the world from an operating standpoint, which fortunately for us, having signed an NDA with San Cristobal Mining, we do get a better perception as to what real costs are, not pie in the sky stuff, but what the real operating costs are for a large scale open pit type of operation that we are focusing in on, again, being a subset of the overall system, being the open pit for the PEA. So that's what we've been primarily focused in on. And there's been a lot of work behind the scenes. There's been not a lot of news because, after the MRE came out and there was a lot of criticism about, oh, the grades are too low. Like, look at the silver, it's only 18, 15 gram. And they reported silver equivalent of 100, 150 gram. People have to realize that those numbers that we came out with, it didn't include tin when it came to the, to that resource. We did show tin in its separate domain, 130 million tons of tin silver, next door to the open pit polymetallic that we're now moving forward with, which actually adjoins that tin silver domain to the west. But when you're dealing with 100-meter spacings and fanning out like down to 300-400 meters, you're not going to be hitting high-grade areas. I mean, you will occasionally, but you've got to infill. I mean, it's just basic stuff. And I think maybe looking back, I don't know if I even would have brought out an MRE, to be quite. I think it was my
I was
mistake.
going to ask you that.
Well, I think it was my mistake as CEO. I got to take the responsibility for that because we were always mentioning, oh yeah, we're going to be doing an MRE, And so the shareholder was waiting, oh, when's the MRE coming? I think
Mhm.
that was the mistake of myself, not sort of, channeling that into saying, guys, let's get a better handle on this. We're getting
Mhm.
fantastic results, but it's such a big deposit.
Yeah,
And
this is a huge ore body. I mean, this is a very large porphyry system, and it's pretty complicated. There's a lot of different domains here, and it's unusual in the sense that there's so many different metals in the ground. I mean, there's silver, lead, zinc, tin. There's even some copper. There's bismuth, right? There's all kinds of stuff here.
yeah, there's even a little bit of gold. Not that this is going to be a gold mine, obviously, but
Hmm.
even from the initial drilling back in 2021, when we first started our radial drilling program at the Heracassa, uh, that added, we had no geophysics, nothing was done. Remember, that was during COVID, so we couldn't bring in too much, But in hindsight, I mean, we hit. There was a pocket of bismuth gold, more oxidized, but in the upper areas of Hiracasa, which is,
Hmm.
fairly close to the Santa Barbara area that we're really focusing in on at this stage. But there's two or three other, like Porco, there's two or three other feeder systems, centers in this overall system. And, the idea was, let's go big. Let's really drill out this thing and see what the extent of the deposit is.
Hmm.
And it's still open to the south, to the west, to the east. Um, so, it was a fantastic, Lassonde Curve first stage move,
Hmm.
thrill. But then reality starts setting in, like, okay, you've got all these results, uh, and you combine all the metals, and then you come up with these silver equivalents. And
Hmm.
then because we thought we better start doing a lot of metallurgy, because we're getting a lot of sort of comments as to, is this economic recovery between these different metals? So we really went overboard on the metallurgical time frame and the testing we did through Mike Hollywell, that was brought in from who we met through AHK. And Mike's a really well-known tin metallurgist, International Tin Association, that we're members of. He's one of the foremost tin experts. Also, I mean, he was sort of project risk, senior VP worldwide for SGS. So he has engineering background, mining engineering. He sort of gets he brings an added dimension, especially to where we are right now, to what we're doing between exploration geology and now practically trying to move into something more economic as a model, being a PEA. So, that all that testing that we did when we actually finally brought out that MRE last year, the Ontario Securities Exchange were saying, well, you've done so much MRE, so much metallurgy, sorry, for your MRE that, we can't classify this as silver equivalent. We want you quoting in NSR. And
Hmm.
even I
Yeah,
have,
which was really unusual because that is very uncommon for a junior explorer to be reporting a resource with the net smelter return dollar amounts. And a lot of people looked at that, including myself. I think that's the first time I've ever seen it from a junior. I've seen it from a major mining company, but never from a junior. And you have to really put that into context. A lot of people don't know how to put that into context and interpret those numbers. And actually, it was a very thorough, resource. Despite the criticism and the share price performance, on the back of the resource, that was a very thorough um, piece of work that was done, and it gives you a solid foundation for the PEA. And obviously, it's helped to inform what you're doing now, that you need to focus on the Santa Barbara starter pit area and turn some of that stuff that was basically turned into waste in the resource estimate into ore, or to hopefully do an upgrade into ore grade,
yeah.
and fill in some of those gaps.
Well, Robert, I had trouble trying to figure out the NSR myself. Like,
Hmm.
whether it's, what is it, NSR? Is it NSR cutoff? Is it, what is NSR representing in this case? There's different ways of looking at NSR. What did become apparent on the NSR, though, when I look at NSR on that model, I look at the NSR value, which means the after smelting, after transportation costs, after all cost inputs, you get your gross value, and then you subtract it from your mining costs, your open pit mining costs. That was sort of, but how do you explain that to a lot of people? And the stock's coming off, but we were forced to do that. And fortunately, I do quote in as we move forward to the PEA on any results. I'm quoting silver equivalent. I'm more comfortable with silver equivalent at this stage. Give the shareholder a fighting chance as to what exactly the value is. Sort out NSR. I mean, spend some time and figure it out, like we all will have to do, because it will be quoted NSR as you get into that. It'll be quoted NSR PEA, but there's nothing wrong with showing silver equivalent as well and we had a bit of a dust up with the OSC on that point. I mean, Dr. Bill Pearson has had 40 years experience in, with 43101. He was one of the committee members that were hired by the Ontario Securities Commission back in 1996, 97, after BRIEX turned into a fiat. And because there weren't enough checks on NI 43101 conditions. And so Bill was brought on. So, I mean, the guy really knows his stuff, and he couldn't understand why they were so hard on us not quoting, quoting in having to quote in NSR. And it was really because of all the met work, all the metallurgical work, and the work we did get in from smelters on assumptions as to what the recoveries would be at the smelter level. So anyway, long story short, it is what it is. I feel, I apologize to those shareholders that were up there at $3-4, and then we came in with this message. But believe me, we are only, fourth round here, third round. And we've spent a lot of time in the last 6 months, 5 months, logistically working on these independent studies for the PEA, like for instance, the transportation costs, like what, the optimal throughput daily, which will be around, we're working on 35,000 tons a day. We are implementing XRT ore sorting in that run. So 35,000 tons a day converts into around 14,000 tons of pre-concentrate after the ore sorting, combining, higher grade with lower grade, taking the lower grade, stockpiling the lower grade. And then that is then run through a plant where you end up with 1/10 as concentrate. So if you're 15,000 tons a day of pre-con, higher grade, basically double grade, you're around 1,500 to 2,000 tons of finished concentrate, whether it's silver, zinc, or silver lead concentrates. But that's sort of the basic. And getting that to port after recoveries, what is your final model, your gross profit, so that we can start telling people, what is the NAV on this? What is the real value here? I can say there's 1.15 billion ounces of silver equivalent at $30 an ounce silver. I can say in situ there's $34 billion of value, which obviously, that's quite a number. But that is actually what we have. We have close to 300 million ounces of silver outlined. And don't think for a minute there isn't a lot of higher grade silver within that. And that's, that's what we, over time, you will zero in on some of these higher grade silver zones. And this is one of the reasons, for instance, that we're starting up with this 5,000 meter drilling campaign. We are starting, the drill pads have been set up around the Santa Barbara added area, and 2 drills will move forward. They are having some diesel issues in Bolivia. Bolivia's been a little bit crazy the last few weeks with Evo Morales trying to make a big comeback. Good luck on that.
Oh
You know,
boy.
and he's got his 1,000 followers, walking to La Paz. Anyway, it is Bolivia, and you got to deal with it. But so there is a bit of fuel issues right now. But one drill goes October, first week in October, second drill will follow up middle of October. I think we'll stick just with 2 drills. I would like to bring a third drill in, but then again, it's cost, it's money. We've been tight on money for the last, ever since really June of 2023. That was our
Mhm,
last major raise. And then
mhm,
with the MRE coming out and then getting slapped down,
mhm,
and even like when we came out with 3 really good press releases at the beginning of this year of 2024, we did some infill drilling, like similar to what this is, um, without the real data that we have right now. Like we're going to be even more precise from some of the in-house work modeling that we've done from the original MRE. It's actually quite fascinating. Um, so we're really looking forward to this drilling campaign. But we came out with some high-grade silver. I think it was over 200 grams over, I believe it was 60 meters. Don't quote me 100%. I might be off a
mhm.
bit on the gram, but, we came out with results of a 6-ton bulk sample that we sent over, air freighted over to Mike Hollywell at Wardell in Cornwall, Wardell Armstrong, that Mike uses. They're a great lab. And we came out with a press release stating that out of that 6 tons of bulk sampling assay results, the head grade was over 90 grams silver. And we had 2 twin holes, diamond holes in the same stuff that came in at 31 grams silver. So, this is sort of telling me why I think San Cristobal will make a hell of a lot of money. Because I don't think when you're doing a lot of drilling, diamond drilling, it's truly, I think it underreports somewhat in this type of system. So this is one of the ideas. We continue with 50-meter infill, which can give you a pretty good representation. But if we can put a 1,000-meter ramp, 12-degree angle, a 3 by 3.5 meter dimensional hole, starting into this, take out material, still bulk sample, bulk test, for even beyond the PEA into the bigger PEA or into, what the next big model might be. This drilling, this 5,000 meters of drilling, what we believe is that it's going to be able to extend the open pit to the west and to the north and to the northwest into the tin silver zone. We really want to go into that tin. We believe that the tin will be part of the PEA. So the grades, the NSR, are the silver equivalent with tin is going to be that much higher than what we reported in the MRE. I think that, we're looking at a 12, 15-year mine life for the PEA, although this thing could go for 40 years based on the size, but being optimal for NPV valuations and such, we're really working hard on showing a really good cash flow model over that 12, 14-year period. If tin can come in to the model, maybe in year, midway through, and there's the grades strong enough to pay for like a fuming plant, which would be part of the CapEx, all the better. So we are zeroing in on this infill drilling, mainly in like 400 or 500 meters intercepts into the sort of the just west of the Santa Barbara adit, and then into the western, keep stepping out into the tin silver area. The other side of it is that Dr. Pearson has outlined through his geophysics, is that potential silver zinc target to the east, abutting the existing open pit 1,500 meter strike length to the southeast. Now, that is more blue sky. That's something that if we put a couple of holes in, and if it hits, it could then create another dimension you could be looking at a much bigger pit. It won't take away from our first pass PEA, which I don't think will be, probably like 160 to 180 million tons in that PEA, roughly 12 million tons a year. That's sort of what we're working towards I don't think I'm saying anything untoward here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm being somewhat general, but those are the parameters that we're filling in on. So again, the 5,000 meters will be used for the infill, the upgrades, fill in those blanks that you mentioned. You can get a little bit more ore tonnage there. And also it'll help with maybe the startup or after this drilling, we commence with that ramp as we continue drilling, depending on how the market takes it. Like I want to see a bigger, a bigger financing than what we're, the monies that we have right now, what we're doing. But, this 90 cent, 95 cent price, we got to get out of this range.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really don't want to finance too much down here.
So it's turning to summer in South America as it starts to turn towards winter in North America. So it's logical that you're starting drilling in early October. So you said 2 diamond drill rigs. I'm hearing you talk about drilling a pretty wide area. I mean, to step out to the west and then also potentially test later the chargeability target to the east. I wonder if you're going to actually, exceed the 5,000, meters, and maybe this program might get expanded down the road.
The 5,000 meters, what's around 5,800 meters. There's 7 tin silver holes
Mm-hmm.
and it's not really big step, but we have in our modeling some high grade zones. Like right now, for instance, we've got over 30 million tons of 0.37 in this western area, very close to the infill drilling that we'll be doing at Santa Barbara, at the Santa Barbara adit, where
Mm-hmm.
the ramp will probably either will extend that adit or be parallel or just north. We'll see. We've done an independent study, but that's one of the reasons Mike Hollywell is heading down there tomorrow just to confirm a few things. Yeah, no, there's no question. I would think that 5,000 meters, I think you're going to need probably, forgetting the east, because we want to get enough definition drilling in for that 12-year mine life for the PEA. So, we might 5,000 meters now and probably another 5,000 meters, just to finish it off. But I don't think that, we'll need more than that for the 12 to 14-year mine life of the PEA that we're working on. So
Okay. So the drilling starts in October, probably will go.
next couple of weeks.
Yeah, right. And the next couple, yeah. So yeah,
Like,
in 2 weeks or less, and it will go until probably the holidays.
yeah, I mean, it works out like each drill, you usually get about 100 meters a day.
Mm-hmm.
So they start in, and just depending if we get, like, if silver jumps up 10, 15 bucks in the next 2 months or something dramatic happens,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be great? We might be able to get an extra 2-3 million in to
Mm-hmm.
do some drilling, over at the eastern pit. But then here we go again. So let's say we get some really good results in the tin silver to complement the 12 year. But then we're seeing, oh my God, we could actually get another 3 years on this. We put a couple of holes into the zinc silver target, and that actually hits. And so suddenly you're looking at, well, wait a sec, we could have a 2.5 kilometer strike length on an open pit, implementing a much larger scale, and I don't want to get into that trap. So I think we'll just, for the sake of sanity, we'll just sit with the model that we're working on for at least for a PEA,
Mm-hmm.
initial PEA. But there's lots of upside here, so much.
So you obviously have to do this drilling to get the higher grade starter pit at Santa Barbara to the indicated category for the
Well, not so
PEA?
much indicated. For a PEA, you can stay inferred. It's just to have enough high grade to show that 12-year mine life,
Okay.
show that value per
Just
year.
have higher confidence in it.
Yeah, and get try and get a 2-3 year payback, maybe 3.5
You've
years.
already done a lot of metallurgical test work. What more met test work is necessary for the
About
PEA?
$100,000 worth of tin sulfide met work on some of the drill holes. We're gonna do 2 met holes with PQ. And that will have to go back to Cornwall, because we believe it'll be more representative of that area that, I outlined that 3.37, which is, to put that into perspective, that's close to 8 pounds of tin at $15. It's $120 rock. And even if you only get 50% recoveries, you're still getting, what, 50, $60. I mean, the numbers are good. So, but the metal, yeah, there won't be a lot, like to do a PEA, you've got to bring in the, the bigger international name to solidify and verify for the big game, which is trying to bring a partner into Bolivia into this. So a Lycopodium or a Knights Peacehold, who we mentioned, they would be back in. They initially started some work, but then we wanted to really internalize a bit more. We weren't quite ready. So, it'll probably cost at least $500,000 for the PEA studies to be completed. We've done 80% of the work in-house. But you pay for what you get. And these guys are, big names, so that's what we need. Other than the logistics are basically done, all the costing out on the 35,000 ton a day, all that's needed is a bit more infill, a bit more tonnage grade to finish off that PEA in the upper zone. And that's what this 5 to eventual 10,000 meters will support, I believe. So you could be completed. Let's say we have to go an extra 3,000-4,000 meters, whatever it might be after the 5,000. You could be completed by the end of January, early Feb. So, that's then with a month and a half of the met work on the tin sulfides, that's going to be part of the PEA, which it is. So, I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be out by the summer, after the end of second quarter, but I don't want to be pinholed to that.
Okay. And then final question, like like once you have this PEA out, the numbers are out. Hopefully it's positive. It's a
Or it'll
positive
be
PEA.
positive.
Okay.
We already know 3/4 is positive.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I assume I just don't want to count my chickens. There's a lot of exploration upside at this project. I mean, there's a lot of exploration upside. How do you rank your exploration priorities? Obviously, you have the silver zinc target, the chargeability high to the east. You have the tin domain grades going up to the west. And then you have this potential really deep tin porphyry feeder structure. But obviously that's going to be deep drilling. That's expensive drilling. How do you rank these targets?
Well, you've got to look at Bolivia itself and what's going on from a macro standpoint. And, China has been investing a lot in Bolivia. The US are looking for critical metals like tin, for instance. The US import 50,000 tons of tin a year. And where do they get it from? Well, it's either Indonesia or indirectly through China or Myanmar. They're sort of locked up. They get 10% of their tin from Bolivia, a little bit from Minsur in Peru. So, I've got to look at the appetite down the road. So that's what dictates the priority. And zinc's a priority from the standpoint of the smelters, one smelter that's being underwritten through a Chinese bank. And I'm not pro-China, so, let's not go there. But I'd much prefer to have the US or, the Western Europe come in and get a little more aggressive. But until that happens, and they've got to go, methodically. So, when you're dealing with a smelter, $350 million zinc silver smelter, and with lead potential circuitry or smelting capabilities, they need a source, a major source. Now, if we come in with a big zinc inventory, which we know we have, that's the beauty of Iska Iska. Like, I think we're in the top 10 zinc in situ resources in the world. We could, we're not that far from rail. So, we could be a feeder for, on a zinc project with maybe a consortium of Chinese off-takers or Far East or Bolivian, I don't know. US, would love to have the US in. So that's, I think zinc's a priority. I think tin is a priority, but tin's a tougher to extract a really solid economic long life tin model. There's more, there's lots of work to do. We could be the first major open pit tin operation, lower grade. That's still going to take time. So obviously the big number to me is silver. So silver is what I believe, I mean, the ratio is still 80, 85 to 1. I still don't understand it. I don't know who's sitting on it. But we hear all these, what silver's going to be used for. Like, even you hear about this Samsung battery.
Yeah.
34 ounces of silver rather than half a gram or whatever they're using right now in the Samsung battery. Is that actually going to, become reality? I mean, if it does, fantastic. But I just think silver has been overlooked in a big way. And, I mean, I'm not asking too much. I do think if you can see silver at $70, $80, over an average of 5 years in the next year to 4-year period, if we're getting averaging 35, 40 gram silver, that's not bad. Because, that's like, that's close to, like, let's say you're getting 45 grams silver, an ounce and a half of silver. Let's say you're getting $50, $60. I mean, that's $100 rock, and the recovery, especially if it's from lead, is like, you get 90%. If it's zinc, it's more like 80. But and it's in Bolivia. You can make some cash flow if my game is not really to sit there and make a lot of cash flow in a small model, like 200-300 ton a day model. My aim is to try and enhance a team, a group that can really bring in a major player that's looking for long-term silver resource, for that matter, zinc resource, and maybe tin resource. That's my job. And that's what I'm trying to do. But let's get the PEA out there so I can exactly speak numbers, what that NAV is. So that's what I need.
So PEA, and then what I hear you kind of, like alluding to is you do want to test that silver zinc lead target to the east in 2025.
Yeah. And I hope if we get good results out of the tin, if we can, get up to another 50, 60, 70 million tons of tin over 0.28 cutoff, man, I'll tell you, that PEA is going to look pretty sweet.
All right, Tom Larsen of Eloro. Thank you very much for your time, Tom. Appreciate it.
Robert, thank you.
Cheers.